within 5 to 10 working days. To top it up, Schuma Auto Parts also supply Maxxis tires and CS tires.
Really? But where are they found?
They are found on Chandram Sonda Road, Cruiser Auto Workshop in Lusaka. Call on 0979 192057 and 0960 747235. Email shumaautoparts@gmail.com. Schuma Auto Parts for all your genuine vehicle parts.
The happy world of 5FM Radio, your adult contemporary radio station in Zambia, connecting you to the newsmakers and events that make news in the global village.
Good evening. This is the 5FM main news at 18:30 with Judith Mwabe. The headlines. UK announces £7 million to support Zambia to resolve climate and food insecurity crisis. Levels of transparency surrounding existing and upcoming concern. 3 tons of cocaine seized from ship, Senegal's Navy says. And now the news in detail. The United Kingdom has announced £7 million, equivalent to over 200 million kwacha, to support the Zambian government's plan to provide shock response assistance and support families in adapting to the impacts of climate change. British High Commissioner to Zambia, Nicholas Wooley, made the announcement during a visit to Eastern Province today, a region severely affected by the impacts of climate change. The announcement was made at the launch of the 1,000 Days Nutrition Pilot for Zambia's Social Cash Transfer Program, which is aimed at supporting vulnerable households to adapt to the long-term impacts of climate change and improve food security and the consumption of nutritious foods. The 1,000 Days Nutrition Pilot is being implemented by Ministry of Community Development and Social Services in partnership with the governments of Ireland, Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom alongside UNICEF. Mr. Woolley notes that this year, Zambia is experiencing a climate and food insecurity crisis caused by rising temperatures and unpredictable rains that have resulted in droughts, floods and disease outbreaks, including cholera, 4 armyworms, and most recently, anthrax. The UK envoy says the government's integrated food security analysis shows that more than 2 million people are in food insecurity, crisis, and emergency. Mr. Woolley says urgent humanitarian assistance is required to reduce food gaps, protect and restore livelihoods, and to prevent acute malnutrition. This is contained in a statement issued to 5FM News by the British High Commission Communications Lead, Jonathan Sayame. Publish What You Pay Zambia, a coalition of civil society organizations committed in the advocacy for transparency and accountability, has observed that the levels of transparency surrounding both the existing and upcoming agreements is below public expectations. The governments of Zambia and Democratic Republic of Congo announced the setting up of the Electric Vehicle Battery Council in April 2023. In a statement issued today, Organization National Chairperson Joseph Chewe says since the time the MOU was signed, little is known about the Council's work, the terms of reference, tenure of office, and who it reports to, and other accountability issues. Mr. Chewe says this is making it difficult for key stakeholders and the public to fully engage on matters of economic significance. He is cognizant of the fact that many things are still at growing stage for the two governments and has commended the technocrats for their efforts. He says the coalition desires to see MOUs that will have provisions for technology transfer, specific investment figures and timeframes, details of the infrastructure to be developed, environmental protection measures, and capacity building. Mr. Chewe has also expressed concern of a government's failure to come out clearly about the roles that the two key ministries, which are Mines and Minerals Development and the Commerce, Trade and Industry, will play. He has further urged the government to put in place mechanisms to avoid a silo approach, which instead promote complementarities between these two ministries. The embassies of Zambia and Tanzania to the Federative Republic of Brazil are planning on hosting joint economic, trade, tourism, and investment forums in Brazil to showcase the opportunities that are in the two countries. Ambassador of the Republic of Zambia to Brazil, Glenn Migelo, says there is a lot that Zambia and Tanzania are able to achieve by working together. Mr. Migelo was speaking when he paid a courtesy call on Professor Adeladus Lubango Kilangi, Ambassador of United Republic of Tanzania to Brazil in Brasilia. Professor Kilangi is also chairperson for Southern African Development Community SADC group of head of missions in Brazil. Ambassador Migelo indicated that through joint investment forums, Zambia and Tanzania will be able to encourage the Brazilian business community to participate in the two countries' premier trade fairs. He added that the recent state visit by President Samia Suluhu Hassan to Zambia, which culminated in the signing of 8 memoranda of understanding documents, is an affirmation of deepening cooperation between the two countries in different sectors, which include energy, transport, defense, and health. Meanwhile, Professor Kilangi expressed delight at Zambia's desire to work with Tanzania in advancing trade, tourism, and investment between Brazil and the two countries. This is contained in a statement issued by First Secretary for Press at the Embassy of the Republic of Zambia in Brazil, Lloyd Kapusa. Chama North Member of Parliament Yotam Chalo has commended power utility firm ZESCO Management Chama North Member of Parliament Yotam Chalo has commended power utility firm ZESCO Management for accelerating the construction of substations following the successful completion of construction of 132 kilovolt transmission line from Chipata to Chama 3 years ago. Mr. Mtachalo says the construction of substations at Mwasapangwe, Ikikichikeni, and Chama will facilitate the connections of Chama and Lundazi districts to the national electricity grid. He says this will therefore end the erratic and unreliable electricity supply from Eskom of Malawi, which has haunted the two districts for almost 2 decades. He regrets that the erratic power supply imported from Malawi continues to disrupt smooth daily economic activities in the district, but noted that this will soon be a thing of the past.
I have no doubt that ZESCO will respond positively to our request to electrify a number of areas in respective wards in the constituents, because increasing the customer base is the best way for the company to reap maximum returns on its investment. Because the 132 kV transmission line costed the firm millions of United States dollars, and as such, with such a huge investment, it will not make much economic sense to service only a few customers around the central district.
The Zambia Institute of Independent Media Alliance has expressed concern with the increasing number of acts by state actors, which are shrinking the space for media practitioners and also creating an environment which criminalizes the practice of critical and good journalism. Zima consultant Wilson Pondamali has observed a sharp rise in threats and physical attacks on journalists in the last 2 years the UPND has been in government, despite President Hakainde Hichilema at the time of his inauguration, media of provincial working environment correspondent Arthur Sikopo was recently summoned to police headquarters and had journalists at the Zambia Daily Mail, namely Star France Zulu, Conrad Chikweto and Chongo Sampa, were fired for taking pictures of Zambians lining up to buy millimil, which was in short supply at the time. He says the latest case is the arrest of Thomas Gambo, who has been slapped with a charge of sedition in a move that seems calculated to continue a campaign of intimidation against media publications critical of the UPND government. Mr. Pondamali says the UPND and its leadership were ushered into office in the August 2021 elections after campaigning on a platform promising enhanced freedom and democracy. He has advised the UPND administration to reconsider the negative stance it has taken towards journalism practitioners and work to provide an environment that enhances media freedom.
We would like to advise the UPND administration to reconsider the negative stance it has taken towards the journalism practitioners and work to provide an environment that enhances media freedom so that the fourth estate can contribute positively to improved governance in Zambia. Journalists should not live in fear of reprisals from their own government for simply being critical and hoping to check government excesses. Zambian society is best served by objective, critical, and fair media, not by an increased number of publications singing praises of government's every move.
In other stories trending this evening, the Zambia Medicines and Medical Supplies Agency has effectively distributed 438 out of the 478 hospital beds and mattresses that were recently procured to various health facilities across the country. The Disability Rights Watch is urging parliamentarians to use the private members' motion on sign language and Braille to ensure the government takes immediate steps towards designating and recognizing sign language as one of Zambia's official languages. Up next, the business news.
5FM Radio Business News. We mean business. Keep you current in commerce, trade, and industry, local and global. It's our business to keep you informed about business.
Agriculture economist Edify Hamugale has noted a tremendous improvement in the distribution of farming inputs in this season. Dr. Hamugale says there is clearly visible improvement in both timing of delivery and quantities of farming inputs reaching farmers throughout Zambia compared to the last season. He says the agro loan package targeting government workers will certainly help increase both area planted and expected volumes in crop harvests. The former Southern Province Minister has predicted a mega bumper harvest for maize, groundnuts, and soybeans in 2024, which will improve national food security and agricultural exports.
What I see ahead, a mega bumper harvest, not only for maize, but for many other crops, which will indeed entail that Zambia will be food secure and will be a net exporter of agricultural produce. This is extremely good. I also feel this improvement should be made known to all the people in the Republic of Zambia.
5FM Radio Business News. We mean business. Keep you current in commerce, trade, and industry, local and global. It's our business to keep you informed about business.
And now in foreign news. Nearly 3 tons of cocaine has been seized from a ship off the coast of Senegal, the West African States Navy says. This is one of the largest drug hosts by Senegal's Navy. The region is a transit point for Latin American cartels trafficking drugs to Europe and elsewhere. Here's Rwanda from the BBC.
Palestinian health ministry officials say 2 children have been killed in the city of Jenin in the occupied West Bank as Israeli troops continue their military operation in the main refugee camp there. Soldiers are reported to have surrounded a house and fired on the residents. 2 people were detained. One of them is said to be a member of an armed group called the Jenin Battalion. Sabri Saidan is from Fatah, which runs the Palestinian Authority on the West Bank. He accused Israel of seeking to take over the territory. More hostages held by Hamas in Gaza may be released later today. Israel has received a list of those due to be freed, and the families of those named have been notified. In exchange, 3 Palestinians detained in Israel will be released for every hostage freed. The OECD, which brings together the world's leading market economies, says emerging countries are generally faring better than advanced ones. In its latest report, the OECD says weak global trade is clogging up supply chains and hampering growth, especially in the services trade. Claire Lombardelli is the chief economist of the organization.
And finally, in sports news, Luke Donald will remain Europe's Ryder Cup captain for the 2025 edition in New York after leading his team to victory in Rome in October. Donald has been victorious in all 4 of his appearances as a player and 1 as captain, guiding Europe to a 16.5 against 11.5 win over the United States. He will become the first Europe captain to serve consecutive terms since Bernard Gallagher between 1991 and 1995. And that sporting item brings us to the end of the news this evening. But before we go, a recap of the top stories. UK announces £7 million to support Zambia to respond to climate and food insecurity crisis. Levels of transparency surrounding existing and upcoming MOUs raises concern. Three tons of cocaine seized from ship, Senegal's Navy says. For more news, follow us on Facebook, 5FM Radio Zambia. On behalf of the entire news crew and the technical department, thank you for listening to the Happy World of 5FM. Stay safe and stay tuned to 5FM Radio. I'm Judith Moabel. Good evening.